Hello YouTube, this is Darkon633 back with another Super Sentai review. Today we're going to take a look at the Kaitou Sentai Lupinranger versus Keisatsu Sentai Patranger Good Striker. Now this is the main device used by both teams to either use it for their finisher attacks or use them for their mecha formation. Which is actually very interesting, because this is actually one of the Lupin Collection's particular items, and it also has some sentience to it, which is kind of funny because it has another one of those little puppet kind of pals within the Super Sentai season we've been getting a lot of recently. Anyways, we'll now take a look at the presentation and contents. And now we'll move on to the presentation and contents. As usual, we're going to take a look at the box. The box is in the backwards flap design we've been seeing with a lot of Toku toys recently, which can be actually quite obnoxious, especially for shipping, but it's unfortunate they're just going with that since it's easier to store once again in Japanese shelves. On the front, we have a picture of the actual Good Striker in the Lupinranger formation, although it does promote the Patranger formation there. We have a picture of the two mech up there, and we have Lupin Red and Patranger Ichigo right there. We have a picture of the two mecha forms once again on the side. Some more promotions, like some of the sounds that the toy can do. Same thing with up here. And on the side, we have another picture of Lupin Red and Patranger Ugo here on the side, which is the formation used by the Patrangers when using the Good Striker. So now we're going to take a look at the actual Good Striker itself. In terms of contents, that's all you're getting. Outside of the pull tab, which is currently attached to the actual battery compartment, since unfortunately this vehicle does not include a on and off switch, which is really annoying when you're playing around with it. Although it's obviously avoidable when you actually pull the keep the pull tab on, or just remove the batteries altogether if you're going with the mecha formation. So in terms of presentation and contents, the box is very colorful, and I think they did a nice job with the artwork and design for it. And even though it doesn't really have anything else, at least it pretty much has what it needs to do. So I give it a 5 out of 5. And now move on to the features themselves. Pretty much the sounds are all contained onto the unit itself, and unfortunately you're not going to get anything else outside of it unless attached to the actual VS changer, but we're going to take a look at what I mean about that in a minute. Anyways, we'll now pull out the pull tab and hear some of the sounds. Right now, it is in the Patranger formation, so here we go. With that, it actually changed to the Lupinranger mode, but we'll quickly go back to the Patranger mode, so... And from what I could tell, that's about the majority of the sounds you get with the toy, really in any formation. It doesn't exactly tell what formation it's in, but you do need to actually turn it into the formations when using with the VS changer. So that's pretty much all the sounds on its own. To transfer it into the Lupinranger's formation, we're going to pull down the cone piece, and then pull out the wings, and from there, we have it in the Lupinranger formation. So anyways, underneath, which we're going to take a look at now, when you actually pull on the wings for both sides, the actual pegs will actually go in order to differentiate the two forms. So while it doesn't do anything with just the Good Striker alone, it will actually matter for the VS changer. So anyways, we're now going to take a look at the features with the VS changer. We're going to slide this in. From here, it's actually in the Lupinranger formation, so we need to pull it up. And this is where the Lupinrangers use their finisher, where they actually clone themselves and attack using the Good Striker. So that's pretty cool. We're going to slide this off. and then transform it into the pattern formation once again. And then from here, we're actually going to slide it back. And this is the finisher used by the combination form, which is Pattern Ugo, where all three of the Patrangers fuse into one body and have the triple colored formation. So I think it's a very interesting idea, although it can be a bit strange. So that's about all it can do with the VS Changer. However, if you do have the other Versus vehicles, you can actually form the mecha with this. So we'll be back with that next. And now that we got the trigger machines, we're actually going to form first using the Good Striker to form Pat Kaiser, or Pato Kaiser should I say. So anyways, we're now going to transform this into the mecha formation by sliding these down. So now you form the legs. We're going to turn this around, pull these apart, and to finish it off, all you got to do is slide the trigger area back there. So that forms the body. Next what we're going to do is put them into their attack modes, essentially, and peg them onto the body. And then, okay, this is actually already in the formation, my bad. So we're going to pull out this peg, which is hidden up here, and attach trigger machine number 1 onto the body, and pull this down. And now we have Pato Kaiser, which we're actually going to change the camera so we can have a better look at this. And now we have Pato Kaiser fully formed. The main sounds are featured once again on the actual trigger itself, and unfortunately, when actually attached, as mentioned earlier, it doesn't make any new sounds when attached with the vehicles in either formation. But to activate the sounds, what you're going to do is pull on the trigger. For what I could tell, that sound is made because it's not really differentiating between the forms, so you do need to play around with the dial first in order to make it into the right formation. So from there, if I remember correctly, that's how it will actually activate the full sounds. Here we go. So now, that's pretty much all it does. When you pull onto the trigger again, it's going to make the exact same sound, unfortunately. And that's all you're going to get for sounds. In terms of articulation, you're not going to get a whole lot. It's pretty much your typical Super Sentai articulation. The arms can spin, and that's it. It does not have any other form of articulation, such as leg joints, knee joints, or anything else. So that's all you're going to get. However, we can actually change this into Lupin Kaiser when you bring in the Doll Fighter, so we'll do that next. And now we got all three Doll Fighters here. You do actually need to turn down, as mentioned earlier in this review, in order to change it into Lupinranger mode. There isn't really a good way to actually do that, unfortunately. You just need to play around with the dial until it actually mentions Lupinranger. Otherwise, it's going to stay either in the unallocated form, or it's going to go with the Patranger form. So anyways, here we go. In order to combine the limbs, we're going to transform these into their attack modes, similar to what happened with the trigger machines. So we got an arm here. We're going to do the same for the blue Doll Fighter. Sorry, Doll Fighter. Actually, this is the wrong way, so here we go. We're going to attach them to the body. Pull up the peg once again. Turn this around. Make sure that the face is facing forward. We're going to put these wing flaps up a bit, and then we now form Lupin Kaiser. Now to finish up the formation, we're going to pull down these panels so that the legs can change as well. And that is the full formation for Lupin Kaiser. In order to activate the sounds, once again, you pull on the trigger. So it looks like it's in the unallocated form for some reason. It's a little bit tricky sometimes to get it right, but it should actually go into the correct sounds now. And that's all the sounds you're going to get with this device, unfortunately. In terms of articulation for Lupin Kaiser, though, there is a little bit more because of the way that the dial fighters work. It does maintain the same swivels, however, it does have some very minor inner joint, but it does actually have a 360 elbow joint on both sides. So, I do have to appreciate they have the attack formations for both of these dial fighters. Otherwise, it would have been about the same we've seen with the Patranger Kaiser. So, that's pretty much all this device can do. And I have to appreciate Bandai actually doing something very interesting this time, since we actually have, for the first time, a full-on weapon that actually forms into a mecha, which has not happened before for what I can tell, at least in the recent age. So, I really actually enjoyed this toy overall, so I give this a 5 out of 5, even though there is a few weird things going on with it. So, for terms of overall value, this is actually not a bad priced actual device, since it's around $2,700 depending on where you got it. I got mine at AmiAmi, which was the $2,700 price, which is okay for what it is, but unfortunately it's the shipping that makes it a lot more expensive. When I got this along with the Live Robo, it was about $50+ overall, possibly for shipping, and also it was forced EMS technically, since the SAL was just a little bit under the EMS price. So this is not a very cheap device to get a hold of. So I actually give that a 4 out of 5 just because the shipping really hurts this in the long run, in my opinion. So in conclusion, this is a very nice mecha, since it actually works with mecha and weapon formations, and I think it's really nice what Bandai Japan has done for the design of this particular season. It's definitely unique compared to what we've seen with previous seasons, and it turns out to be a pretty fun toy in the long run, even if it does have a lot of drawbacks. I actually did get a special campaign item, since it was actually released sometime at the end of March, if I remember correctly, where this campaign was going on, and I actually got the Lupinranger badge, which can be used as a belt buckle, but you actually can put this onto the VS changer, it'll actually make a sound. It's not going to do a whole lot, but at least it does have something going for it. So there we go. So if I remember correctly, this actually says, I am a Lupinranger, but that's all it does, and it's really just kind of like an extra bonus. It's not specifically with this mecha, and you're not going to get it anymore from what I could tell. I think the campaign is over, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But overall, I highly recommend getting this if you're a fan of the current season of Super Sentai, and if you actually want something that's a little bit more on the fun side compared to some of the other stuff we've gotten, since it's really nice to have both the weapon and mecha at the same time. So anyways, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and check out Hero Club and Hero Taku. Also check my Twitter, Darkon633, and don't forget to check down the other channels down below. Also check me on Instagram, Darkon633 as well. And we're back with more Super Sentai reviews, but for now, I'll be seeing you later, YouTube. Bye.